California commercial real estate foreclosures have increased by 405% in the past year. Nationwide, commercial real estate foreclosures are up 117%. In this video, we're going to hear about 2 buildings that are being sold for 90% off. We're also going to hear about why exactly these foreclosures are rising, and we're also going to hear about what is being done with these empty office buildings. So make sure you stay until the end for that. But first, I need you to hit that subscribe button. If you want to get better at real estate investing, you have to follow this channel. Make sure you hit the like button as well. Also, make sure you go to the description of this video. I have a bunch of free resources that help you get started in real estate investing. Let's hear about the building in San Francisco that's being sold for 90% off.
It is a San Francisco office tower that was once the home of several businesses, but it just sold at an eye-popping discount. The new owner of the building bought it at 90% off the price it sold for in 2016. It's just one of the signs the city is still struggling with massive office vacancies downtown. But as NBC Bay Area's Sergio Quintana reports, there's a sign a turnaround may be coming.
At the corner of Market and 6th Streets is the historic David Hughes building. Right now it's empty, with a large for lease sign posted over the first floor entrance. Just a few years ago, this was a bustling office space. But today, the sale price of this tower is a surprise for people who live and work nearby.
This building was sold for $62 million in 2016, and it just sold at auction for only $6.5 million. Later on in the clip, someone said there's a growing belief in the office space in San Francisco recovering. They said that interest in office leasing has been on an upswing since last year. In my opinion, it's going to take a long time for this to recover. Let me explain. So if we look at this chart, back in March of 2020, the cities listed below had vacancy rates in the single digits besides LA. Now, if we fast forward to March 2024, as you can see, there is a significant increase led by San Francisco. 53 companies have left San Francisco from 2020 to August 2023. Half of the companies that left moved to Texas. Even walking around downtown LA, it's not the same. There are way less people walking around, and honestly, it's really not a pleasant experience walking around over there. It's just a lot going on, and maybe in your city, it's the same. At the end of the day, these office spaces are empty for a reason. Companies have left cities altogether. People are now working remotely, and in some areas, there's just a lot going on that would not make it a place where an employer would want to have their office. You let me know what you think about that in the comments. Now, if you thought that was bad, it gets worse in Chicago.
I saw where a 185 square foot building in Chicago was sold for $2.5 million. In 2013, it was bought for $22 million. And we're talking about a 90% haircut. I don't know anything about commercial real estate, but golly, I would love to own that building on the screen right now for $2.5 million. So I guess there are opportunities out there, right?
Yeah, I mean, there have been opportunities in commercial for the last 2 years. And again, I think once again, it's kind of everybody's sort of holding their breath, waiting to see what happens with the interest rates. And the longer that rates are high, the higher the odds that we're going to see cracks in this sector.
Something else to note is that the office vacancy rate in Chicago's business district rose to 20% by the end of 2023, and it's probably going to get worse. So clearly there's a huge issue, but it's important for us to understand why this is happening. So back in 2020, commercial real estate foreclosures were at record lows. Lenders were offering things like commercial loan forbearance, and it gave borrowers a lot more flexibility. I'm sure you also remember that happening on the residential side. The problem is that a lot of these agreements have expired, and a lot of that money is due very soon. About $1.5 trillion in commercial mortgage debt is due by the end of 2025, but steeper borrowing costs coupled with tighter credit conditions and a decline in property values brought on by remote work have increased the risk of default. Roughly $929 billion worth of commercial real estate loans are set to mature by this year, according to the Mortgage Bankers Association. Borrowers may have no choice but to refinance with significantly higher interest rates or sell their properties at a steep loss. Now, there are several other states where the commercial real estate crisis is really bad. New York had a total of 61 commercial foreclosures in March 2024, a 5% increase from last month and a 65% increase from a year ago. Then came Florida, which saw a 30% increase from last month and a 107% increase from last year. Texas saw a 31% increase from last month and a 129% increase from last year. Finally, New Jersey saw a 31% increase from last month and a 133% increase from last year. On the residential side, of course, the peak of foreclosure filings was 2008 to 2010. And in fact, from 2007 all the way up through 2015, there were over 1 million foreclosure filings per year. Now, on the flip side, if we look from 2021 to 2023, there definitely is an increase. I don't think we're in the area of a crash or anything like that. You let me know what you think in the comments. Now, I believe these empty office buildings should be converted to housing that those making the median income and below can afford. Now, before you say it's not possible, check this out.
What we're seeing right now is a lot of developers and owners making that decision to go residential because there's a lack of confidence in the office market. But there's also real confidence and there's a real housing need, especially in places like Manhattan.
At 160 Water Street, not far from Wall Street, Painter's firm is converting a 1972 office building 24 stories high into nearly 600 apartments.
So one thing I want to make clear, it's not as simple as saying, hey, this is an empty office building, I want to convert it, we should convert it. There's a whole lot more that goes into it, which is why I need you to pay very close attention to this next clip so you can understand exactly what I mean.
What do you have to do as a designer to make this into housing?
The first thing we actually do is analyze the buildings. Do they have the right bones? Do they have the right structure, the right depth from the elevators to the windows to make perfect units?
160 Water fit the bill. But the core of the building, 60 feet from the windows, was dark, uninhabitable, and useless for apartments.
We've demolished it out, enclosed it, put some mechanical shafts in there. And we're actually able to redeploy that space, that density that we had in there, to the roof to create some great rooftop amenity that has views across the city.
So not every office building is the best match for a residential conversion. I do believe, though, that as many office buildings as possible should be converted to residential apartments. The challenge is that it's very expensive, and also the layout and other features of the building may make it not the best to be converted into residential use. In my opinion, the government should subsidize these projects and require that a certain number of those units are affordable. And I mean actually affordable, where someone making the median income or a family making the median income or below can actually afford it. I mean, the government wastes so much money on things that are not important, which I'm sure you all agree with. So why not put some of that money into housing and converting some of these office buildings that can be converted into apartments? You know I'm right about that, so let me know what you think about that in the comments. The good thing is, though, there's been tremendous progress in office to residential conversion throughout the country. In 2021, there were only 12,100 conversions in the pipeline. Fast forward to 2024, and there are over 55,000. There are also a handful of cities leading the way in office to residential conversions. So as we can see, Washington, D.C. is leading the way with nearly 6,000 units in their pipeline. And then comes New York with over 5,000, Dallas with over 3,000, Chicago almost 3,000, LA almost 2,500. And as you can see, there's a bunch of other cities that are making progress. And the majority of these cities have at least 1,000 units in their pipeline to be converted. So this doesn't necessarily solve the problem, but it's great to see that some cities are making progress in these conversions. And I hope there's more to come, because the reality of it is, in many areas of the country, there's a housing crisis. There's not enough apartments for people to rent. Of course, there's not enough houses for people to buy, and all of it is related in some way. So those are my thoughts. So now that you know about the commercial real estate crisis, I want you to learn about the fact that 50% of Americans cannot afford their housing expenses. Check out this video right here.